There is no hiding it. Chicago is in the midst of a residential building boom. Along Milwaukee Avenue, the sound of construction is constant, where new luxury apartment buildings are being built at a rapid pace. At least 8 new buildings with nearly 600 units have been developed last year in neighborhoods like Bucktown, Wicker Park, and Logan Square on the city's northwest side, according to Luxury Living Chicago Realty, and more apartments are on the way. Most feature amenities focused on convenience, like lounges with free breakfast, easy access bike storage, and outdoor space to socialize. Newlyweds Katie and Andy O'Brien, both 27, recently moved into this high-end apartment building, a short walk from the Western Blue Line station.
It's almost twice as much as what we used to pay. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I would say the quality is fivefold.
Yeah.
So
for what we're getting.
Worth the money.
Yeah.
Their 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment rents for nearly $3,000 a month. This 1-bedroom apartment in the same building rents for $2,100. The average 1-bedroom in Chicago now costs about $1,700, an increase of about 4% citywide over the past few years.
The place we were in before was very comfortable for us financially, and this is definitely on the upper end of what we were looking for. But I think when it came down to it, we were just so ready to be in something a little bit more physically comfortable, and that we had a little space to grow, or that we aren't stacking things to the ceiling in our closets. And so it, at the end of the day, I think we were, ready to kind of take the risk.
When are you hoping to come in and take a look?
Aaron Galvin with Luxury Living Chicago Realty says the rising cost of rent along the Milwaukee corridor is driven by a strong demand from young professionals with solid incomes choosing to rent instead of own.
The demand is there. People want that flexibility. Millennials want that flexibility to be able to, live somewhere for a year or two and then move to something newer and nicer. You're also seeing just a lack of condos being built, and that's why the rental market is so strong. But it really does have a lot to do with perceived value, and each one of these buildings is taking that a step further.
Jeff Smith is the executive director at DePaul University's Institute for Housing Studies. Its latest housing data shows the number of renters in Cook County, ages 25 to 34, surged 40% from 2007 to 2014, an increase of nearly 76,000 renters.
One of the big changes is higher income folks who are younger choosing to rent, and to rent for longer periods of time. So that's a big part of, I think, what is driving the overall increase in development focused on certain types of higher end rental properties.
But living this lifestyle is increasingly out of reach for many young adults under 35, who studies show are less financially secure than previous generations. Erin Steva is the Midwest director for the millennial think tank Young Invincibles.
Young Invincibles looked at the financial wealth of millennials in comparison to boomers at the same age, and what we found was a tremendous gap in wealth. Millennials earn 20% less than boomers did. They have 50% of the net assets that their parents did, and 7% fewer of them own a home. So what we're seeing is that they're less likely to be achieving the American dream.
Steva is working to expand economic opportunities for millennials such as Jocelyn Ramirez, who is forced to move back in with her parents to save money to pay for school.
The living expenses were too expensive for us to keep up with rent, along with other bills that are included in the factor. So it was just too expensive.
While studying for her associate degree, Ramirez also works as a medical assistant, but struggles to pay down her school debt around $10,000.
People have to have like 2 or 3 different jobs to even pay for school or even for their living expenses.
Like Ramirez, Steva knows firsthand what millennials are going through.
It's taken me nearly a decade of saving, paying off for student loans, to be able to get to a point where I'm considering purchasing a home. I'm now in a place where I'm getting close to having that down payment saved up, but it took a long time of balancing all of these other costs.
The most recent data from the Institute for College Access and Success shows 66% of Illinois graduates leave school with about $30,000 in debt. The report also reveals student debt has increased by more than 50% between 2004 and 2014. School debt combined with rising rents and flat wages are all hurdles preventing millennials from pursuing the American dream. Still, 94% of millennials say they want to own a home one day, according to the National Association of Realtors. Right now, 34% of adults under 35 own homes in Chicago, but affordable housing inventory is also a factor.
When rents get high enough, folks start to do the math and say, hey, I could be buying a place for basically what I'm paying for rent. But the challenge sometimes, especially in the way that development cycles work, is what is then the supply of housing available for them to buy. Because there hasn't been a lot of like condo development, for example, you may not have a big supply of condos out there.
Back in Logan Square, Katie and Andy realized they could have a mortgage for less than what they're paying in rent, but buying is not an option for them right now.
We both have student loan debt. We have a car payment, and then just, the cost of, I think, living in, the residential areas of Chicago. And, we have a lot of aspirations, I think, but, it just is not something that we are at a place where we could kind of make that leap.